Hi and welcome to Knit All the Things. My name is Laurel. I'm also known as West Maven on Instagram, Ravelry, and here. If you're new, this is a space where I talk about all the things I'm knitting, all the things I want to knit, all things yarn, just all the things. And if you're returning, welcome back, Knitting Bestie. I can't wait to catch up with you. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about my finished Lana Vest. I had a little bit of an issue with yarn last time and I wanted to tell you all about what ended up transpiring. We're also going to talk about my first ever cardigan, the Champagne Cardigan, a pattern by PetiteKnit. I am getting so close to finishing, you guys. I can't wait to share it with you. We're going to talk about a new cast on and our hat knit along. So grab your knitting, get cozy, and let's go. All right, so let's talk about what I'm wearing. This is the Lana Vest, a pattern by Irene. I absolutely love this vest. I love how it turned out, the cables, the yarn, all the different things. There were some issues though. So let me stand up and show you the vest itself. It has this beautiful kind of pearl design in the front panel, and then there is a nice small cable with a large cable column and then another small cable. We've got beautiful seed stitching down the sides and this amazing cable that runs all the way down and then splits for a split hem. And it is just absolutely beautiful. It's a V-neck, the back is the same. And I just really love this shape and pattern. There were a lot of issues though. So let's talk about, I decided to wear a just store-bought, this is a very old, I believe I bought it from the Gap many years ago, turtleneck. It's very thin, so I always have loved to layer with it, but I threw this over top. I had originally wanted to wear this blouse, which has the same colors in it, but the collar just didn't really lend to looking all of that finished underneath this. So had this had like a regular collar, I think it would have been perfect, but it just didn't work out this time. But maybe I'll change my mind on that. I feel like you can wear this vest over a dress or a sweater or, sorry, a dress or pants. I think you could even belt it. I do think that that could be really cute, putting a belt over it. And it's just a nice, like, extra layer, if you will. So I like the way it ended up turning out. I like the size. I knit a size 2 and I haven't done the final measurements, but I feel like maybe my gauge was a little bit bigger. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to do the measurements after this video and maybe pop that in. But I do really think that this oversized fit is nice. The issue that I ran into, if you have been following the saga of this vest, I had purchased sample yarn from Purl Soho. This yarn can be found in their 9-note bundle. So in their 9-note bundle, it's a fade. And when they are, I guess I'm speaking for them, but from what I understand, when they're developing a new color, they make several samples to decide which color is going to be like the end color, or the beginning color of the fade, or part of the fade. And so I believe this is very close to one of their 9-note bundles, and it came in 50-gram skeins with about, I think, 90 to 100 yards per skein. And it's, I would say, a very solid worsted weight yarn. So it's made out of 80% extra fine merino and 20% alpaca. It has a really nice drape and it's got a nice little halo of the, like, I would say kind of alpaca coming through. It is a nice weight. It definitely has a little bit of bulk, but I don't think that's bad. I think it's a nice, just like, throw on piece. So the negative or the bad part about it is I ran out of yarn. How I believe it's written, you bind off the front hem first and then you go and work the back, and the back is longer. So I ran out of yarn on the back. I think the front, I'm trying to remember. Okay, so I think the front had 18 rows. I believe it had like 18 rows. And then the back, I ended up stopping at 12 when I ran out of yarn. So I basically unpicked the tied off bind off and knit from the front, like literally just used that yarn as it was like unraveling onto the back until I had 14 rows. And then I bound off and then went to the front and bound that off so that I could get like the maximum amount of use of that yarn. And it ended up being that both were 14 rows. So what I ended up doing to kind of fake the split sleeve or the split hem that's longer, when I went to block it, I left this completely flat. I didn't fuss with it at all. But in the back, I pulled it down during blocking so that it gave the effect that this is actually longer when in fact it is not. It is the same. So I just kind of fudged that. I kind of did this a little bit wider and this one a little bit pulled down. So that did work because I do have the illusion that this is longer even though it's actually not. It all worked out. I think it looks fine. I think the length is fine. So it's fine. But it was a little bit stressful. Previously, I accused my dog of eating that swatch, and I stand by what I said. I have not found the swatch. I have not found anything. He was sick for like a week. My husband said that there was something, but never really like told me what he had found. So he was just like something gross. So I don't know. I'm assuming he ate it. I would feel really bad if I've been blaming him, but I tore through my entire yarn stash everywhere I could have possibly put it. I pulled out like where I sit to knit, pulled everything out of there, moved all the cushions. Like I fully gone through every possible nook and cranny in my house that it could be in, and I never found it. So I don't know, it vanished, but it all worked out. I think this turned out really nice. It didn't really, I think, affect the final outcome of what the pattern is supposed to look like. So I'm really happy with it. I don't know. I think previously I talked about how this pattern is, I would say, not quite size inclusive-ish, but first, I think if I were to knit this again, I would actually do it in DK with a smaller needle and make it smaller because it is so oversized that if I were to knit this again, I do think I would want a more fitted look. And I think that would be the easiest way to get it is just to like size down the needle and maybe do a DK weight yarn instead of the worsted. So that's probably how I would change it if I did it again. Not that I don't like this, but I think just to have a different look entirely. Size inclusivity wise, I believe, unless I am mistaken, that her measurements are for the finished garment. And if that's the case, then it would not be size inclusive. If it's for, let me think. If it's for the person's body, bust size, then it might be more size inclusive. And I say that because there is obviously a lot of ease. And part of, to me, what makes something size inclusive is you get the same fit and style from size 1 to size whatever for the whole size range. So that if someone who is the teeny tiniest person wants to have an oversized look, if that's what it's advertised as, then they can have it, as well as somebody on the larger size range could have a more oversized fit. Obviously, ease and all of that probably is different between the sizes, but the overall presentation of the garment is the same. And I feel like with this pattern, from what I understand, you would probably just have a different fitting vest. Like maybe you could knit this with a larger bust size because she does tend to do a lot of oversized garments, but then it would be tighter fitting. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I really do like this pattern a lot, and I really loved working with this yarn. I definitely do it again. The yarn has such a beautiful, fluffy, round shape, and it's very bouncy, and it was just so much fun to knit with. The pattern itself goes by so quickly. The little details of the side cable, even this little horizontal braid detail on the side before you get to the ribbing for the hem is just an extra little detail. The way that you pick up stitches, so you have this beautiful column of knit stitches along the edge of your neckline. Just all these little tiny details really make it such a beautifully designed sweater, and I really love it. I believe she's actually come out with another vest pattern that is similarly beautiful called the Rain, or maybe it's the, I think it's Rain or Ran. That's what I'm gonna go with. But it's really beautiful as well. So that's what I'm wearing. If you have any more questions, I go into this in full detail in the previous episode because I had basically finished this without finishing it because I was running out of yarn. So I did definitely go into this in a lot of detail on my previous episode as well, which I will link below. The other thing that I do want to say about this pattern is I do wonder whether or not the yardage suggestions are accurate. I ran out of yarn and I did a size 2. My friend knit a size 1 and she also ran out of yarn, and the yarn suggested was the same amount as a size 2, and she was just like barely finished with like almost no yarn left. So I just kind of wonder if that is off for the pattern. So it's just something to keep in mind. If you plan on knitting this, I would definitely err on an extra ball of yarn. So that is the Lana Vest, a pattern by Irene. I definitely think I will be wearing this more. I want to play with kind of what I have in my closet, but I also think that maybe I need to add something else to put underneath this. My other knit project that I have been working on kind of crazily is my champagne cardigan. This is a pattern by PetiteKnit. Ooh, I'm a little tangled. Okay, so also here's the deal. I am on my button band and I have this much mohair, and I am not sure that I will have enough. I actually just don't know, because it seems like this seems like a very little amount of mohair, but maybe the button band is really going to be fine. I don't know. I feel like I knew I was going to be close on that, which is very not common for me. I normally am the type of person that will buy extra yarn for every single thing. And I think in the last year, I have had so many like, oh, I have an extra ball of yarn for every single project that I make. I've been just not doing that. And it seems like now I'm running out of yarn for everything. So I don't know. It's like having something that you'll never use. Anyway, so I have started my button band. I actually finished the sleeves. This is kind of hard because of the part that I'm on right now, but I finished the sleeves. It has a nice 4-inch rib on the cuff, a 4-inch rib on the body, and the sleeves just flew off my needles. That was super fast. And then what you do is you pick up on a US, I think 2.5 millimeter or 2.5 US needle or a 3 millimeter needle. You pick up your stitches all the way around the front of the sweater on a long needle, and then you double knit the button band. I've done 3 buttonholes. I have 1 more. And you're knitting it on a size 3 millimeter, where I've been knitting this on a size 6. And I believe the pattern actually calls for a size 7, but I was getting gauge with a 6. But it's such a tiny needle with all this bulky yarn that it is kind of, I think it's going to be okay. I have a little bit of rippling, but I feel like that will block out okay. And it tends to happen like right at my buttonhole. So I think for the most part, I'm doing okay. I'm happy with how it's turning out. I've never done this before. I've done double knitting, but I've never done double knitting for like a button band. Obviously, I haven't knit a cardigan before, so I guess I wouldn't have, but I'm really enjoying how it looks and how it really does feel like a store-bought sweater, or like very well finished sweater. I didn't have any trouble picking up stitches, but I feel like I'm kind of a pro at this point. Like it's definitely not something that is difficult for me. So I think if picking up stitches was not the easiest thing in the world, you would just have to really take your time and be slow about it, because it really will affect how the rest of your sweater is going to look. And on this one, because you're going down in needle size, you're picking up every single stitch along the edge. Sometimes if you're knitting and you need to pick up stitches, sometimes it'll be at a different rate because you're using a similar needle size, but this one is so much smaller and your row gauge is so important that you just pick up every stitch. So I don't know, I'm really enjoying this. I really love how this is turning out. I am not going to try it on for you today just because I'm afraid I'm going to rip out this needle holding all my stitches, but I hope that this will be done soon. It's gone by faster than I originally thought. I thought the button band was going to take a really long time, and it's definitely not fast, but it is a little bit faster than I had anticipated, so that's really good. The yarn that I am using, the mohair is Lamb & Kid, their Momo base, and the color Trippy. It really is this really fun color. It's like the silk core is a kind of a pink, and then the fuzz of the mohair is more of a purple. It's really cool, and I think it really lends nicely to my other yarn, which is Noro Madara in the color Fujisan. Has all these beautiful speckles, and it's a really, really cool yarn as well. I believe it is wool, mohair, and silk fiber, and I really just have enjoyed knitting with this a lot. The Madara does have some thinner and thicker pieces, which I actually think the mohair is kind of helping keep it very consistent, because it will obviously fill in kind of in between stitches where you need it. One thing I did do was I did not use, I've used mohair in absolutely everything, but I did not use it in the picking up of the stitches. So that one part of the sweater doesn't have mohair held with it. And my thinking was, one, I don't think you're going to see that stitch really at all. And two, I then don't have to worry about picking up that mohair strand when I'm trying to do the button band for that stitch. Also, because I think I'm running out of mohair, I just don't know if I will have enough. So I felt like leaving it out of that is only saving me some mohair. My contingency plan for the mohair, I weighed it before I started doing the button band, and then I marked this spot right here, which is the start of the raglan. And I'm gonna weigh it again to see what I have. As long as I have over 50% of my ball left, then I will continue on. If I don't, or I'm really close to that number, then what I'm gonna do is at the back of the neck, between the raglans, which I actually am looking, I did not mark it correctly. Between the raglans, I am going to leave out the mohair. So that the sweater on the button band in the front, you'll see it. And on this just small part in the back, it'll be a strip of no mohair. I think it could add a nice element of something different. And also it's the one part of your sweater I feel like can kind of hide it. My other thought was, if I am just so way off that it's just not gonna work, I could, around the buttons, potentially leave another stripe of like no mohair, because if your sweater is buttoned, you won't see it at all. I kind of don't know. I tried to call Lamb & Kid and order that, and they did not have any at the moment. They definitely said they could dye some for me or request some, which I may still do, but this weekend, as I am filming this right now, is Rhinebeck weekend, and I know that they're there. So my thinking is, if there's any at all left when they get back to Washington, I will call maybe sometime next week to see if they have an extra skein, and I will order it, just so that I don't have like a pause in my knitting and then not leave it out at all. But if it's close, if I'm close, then I'm okay with leaving like a little stripe in the back. I think it might even be cute to like conserve mohair. So that's kind of my thought on that. If you have a different suggestion other than like, I don't want to do a different color, I think it would just be better just leaving it out rather than trying to like color match or do any of that. Like, I would rather just not have it there. Let me know. If you have the tiniest bit of Trippy Momo, let me know. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with this. I really cannot wait to wear it, you guys. The length of this is so good. It is so good. It's gonna be like such a nice oversized cardigan, and the sleeves are nice and cozy. I just really am looking forward to wearing this winter, almost as like a house jacket or just an outerwear jacket. I think is going to be really nice. I think once I block the sleeves with this ribbing out just the tiniest bit, it's going to look so good. I'm just really so pleased with this. I will say the whole cardigan up until the button band has been very simple. I think that if you've never done double knitting before, it is very easy actually. It is, you cast on all the stitches you're going to use for the front and the back, and then it's kind of like mosaic knitting where you knit on one side, you knit for the button band, you knit and you slip a stitch with the yarn in front, and then you knit, slip a stitch with the yarn in front. And then on the other side of the fabric, you do the same thing, but with the stitches that you didn't knit. So it creates this just nice fabric, and it's kind of creates like a little tube of fabric, if you will. So that has been really fun. It's been a while since I double knit anything. I made a couple of cowls back in the day that were double knit, and I really think it's a really fun technique, especially with a cowl, because you have like a reversible piece then, and it's extra warm. So it is something that it's a fun little technique to know, and this pattern is great for that. So I've enjoyed it. It's been so fun. I really am excited to wear it. I wish I could have gotten it done, but then I thought, oh, let me cast on a hat, because we were talking about hats. Before we talk about the hats, what I did want to tell you is I did end up looking for buttons for this, because I had thought maybe black buttons or different colored buttons would look really nice, and let me share with you what we're gonna do. So I do have an epic button stash, and I had laid out, I will also maybe put a picture in, but I had laid out some of the different button styles that I have. I don't always have the right amount, and I mean, I have some beautiful like wooden buttons, and I have beautiful like more carved wooden buttons, or this one's actually I think a plastic. I guess it's called celluloid acetate, something like that. And I have like ceramic ones. I have like a million buttons, but I was just trying to use some of the ones I had to even get an idea of like the type of button that I wanted to use for this. And you can kind of see up against the swatch what that would look like, type of thing. So I was trying lots of different buttons, and once I kind of found the size that I wanted, which I'm going with a little bit larger, like the largest that it suggests size, that I would kind of go from there. So I have this amazing button, like it is so good, and it was in my collection of buttons, and it is like so special. It is a like lucite laminated button. It has glitter, and then the star on the front that's like clear, and it's so good. So I decided that I was gonna try and find more, because obviously a vintage button that's super specific will not be at all hard to find. So I found two right away. And I thought, well, this is the universe telling me it's going to be like the easiest thing ever to find this very specific button. It'll be fine. But then I couldn't find a third one because I need 4. And the other thing is I couldn't find all the same color, which I actually think is going to be fine because of all the colors in here. If they can be in the same color family or close, that's fine with me. But yeah, I couldn't. So for this button, I did find 3, and I actually found a 4th one. The lady wanted so much money for the 4th button that I'm gonna wait on it unless I absolutely need it. I'm not gonna get that one. But they're really special and pretty. I really love the like flake glitter in it. And this is making me so excited because when I first started making this button I had in my mind because I thought it would just be so like a fun button for this cardigan. I think it will still look nice and elegant. And I believe the other ones are maybe either a peach or like a whitish color. So you're gonna still get that same effect from far away. We're just gonna have to see. So right now, I feel like I won the lottery on buttons. I'm waiting to get them, but I am excited to kind of see how this is going to all look together. I think it's so fun. It's what I had in my mind. I really wanted, like I was leaning towards some sort of chunky plastic lucite sparkle button of some kind. And I think the flower detail just makes it. So I think we're going with these. Hopefully the other ones are in good condition and hopefully they look like they're the same size. I mean, according to like their measurements, but we'll see. So that's my hope. Fingers crossed it all works out. But yeah, I'm really excited about this button. I'm really excited about it. So hopefully it all works out. And hopefully next time I'll be wearing it and you can see my cute little buttons. So yeah. So the Champagne Cardigan by PetiteKnit, and I'm loving it. I have so much black in my wardrobe that I just wanted something kind of colorful and fun to pop over all of the black clothing I have. And I think it will just be like a fun, it's a fun color, a fun garment. So then I cast on a hat, and if you missed last time, that's okay. I had asked if you guys want to knit along with me, do a hat knit along, just something like low-key, easy, and you all said yes, of course. So we're gonna do it, and it's going to be very simple. You can knit any hat you want. There's not really any sort of requirement other than knit a hat and share it. I created a Ravelry group so you can post there, or you can use a hashtag. It's going to be a shortened version of Knit All the Things Hat Cal. So KATT Hat Cal 23. And then, yeah, you can also tag me if you want. So originally I'm gonna post here if I remember, but I started casting on for the Manhattan hat, a pattern by Tori Yu. And I have knit this pattern before and it's cute. I do like it, but as you can see, maybe my yarn choice is not the best, but it has this kind of see-through quality. And my cousin and her family live in Denver, Colorado, and so it's just, I don't want a holey hat. Like, it's just not what I wanted to make for her son. And so I decided not to use it. I do think, so the pattern calls for 4 inches of negative ease, and that just seems like a lot to me. I typically like my hats a little bit baggy or a little bit more more or less positive ease. Is that a thing? Maybe 2 inches at the most. So 4 inches just stretches out more than I really like. This is my youngest son's, and it does look kind of tight on him. I don't know. I think the adult version of this is really cute, and maybe for the adult version, that much negative ease is fine. Also, I know that she uses Mayak, which has like a lot of bloom factor and a lot of kind of fuzz in their yarn, and so it probably doesn't come across like it does with like a plain merino worsted. The Manhattan hat, I cast on and knit the entire amount of the hat before the decreases for like a single fold over brim, and I just wasn't happy with how it was turning out. And so I looked at all the hats that I have previously made, and this is also to give you guys a kind of ideas if you are wanting to participate but you don't have a favorite hat pattern. I can give you some ideas. And I didn't think this one through, and I put my hair up, so I guess we're not going to show this unless I later take my hair down and put pictures. So we'll see what I decided to do later. So this is called the Morning Walk hat. It is a very easy pattern. It is a 1x1 rib, And the Morning Walk hat is made by Patterson. And it is one of my favorite patterns. I have made this one probably 5 times, and I just really like it. It's super fast for me. This particular hat was made when I was twisting my stitches, but you can't really tell because of all the fuzz. It is knit using Woolfolk Tinned and Snow, and it's just a marl. So you marl a solid color with a marled yarn, and you get kind of this nice marled effect. I've had this hat for probably 6 years, and it's still in really good shape. And it is probably the one that I grab the absolute most. And because I liked it so much, I made a second one, and I made this one in blue. So I did the like blue and white version of that. And it hasn't been worn as much, which is why it's a little bit more stiff. I would say this is a good how it's gonna look when you first make it, as opposed to this one where the fuzz has just kind of fuzzed it up more. But I really do think that it's a great hat. And it has just like a nice even decrease on the crown. And it's just a really overall nice hat pattern. You could attach a pom-pom if you wanted. This is my son's, again, all this twisted rib, but it's just a really nice pattern. I don't remember the yarn that I used for this. I do think I just used a fingering held double, probably, because I think it's a DK weight hat. But this one I do not have. I don't remember. It was so long ago. So this one I think I made for myself, but I never ended up wearing, and my son wears it now. So that's the Morning Walk hat by Patterson. So the next one that I've made, so then this one is a just self-drafted pattern. It's just a plain 2x2 rib, and it's a non-folding brim, so it's just intended to be worn without folding the brim at all. And this is using Malabrigo Rios, and I don't remember the color, but it's just like their royal blue. And I really, really like 2x2 hats. So when PetiteKnit came out with the hipster hat, I made a bunch of them. So this is the hipster hat by PetiteKnit. This is my son's favorite hat, according to him. It is knit using Peary by Brooklyn Tweed, and I believe it is now discontinued, but you can still get it around. And you could use their other fingering weight yarns. But it has this nice shape on the crown, and it does give like a little hipster effect when you're wearing it. This kind of pops up a tiny bit, and it has a single fold over brim. I also purchased these leather tags to put on my things through an Etsy store I'll link below, but I do really think it sometimes just adds a little something to your hat. And because my son likes it so much, and I believe I've been making the small adult hat, I think, the small size. It really has like a lot of give. So it's like a hat he can probably wear for a long time. I definitely have pictures of him where it's a little bit on the big side, but now I'd say it fits him a little bit better, and probably the hipster part will decrease a little bit, but I really, really like this. And again, this is where I was twisting my stitches. So it was quite a long time ago when I made this. And then, I'm not twisting my stitches here. So I made this a couple of years ago, and I did use, this one I used, I believe, Chickadee by Quince & Co. in the colorway Cypress, I believe. And this one is a sport weight one. And I believe I used the small adult for this too. And then I really, like, this is one of his favorite ones. It really wears well. I did the tubular cast on, so it gives it a nice finish. And so because these ones are so well loved, I decided for my cousin's son, I would do another one. And I initially cast on enough stitches for I did the tubular 2x2 cast on. I initially did the adult small, but it was looking so big because I'm using worsted weight yarn this time that I decided to cast on for the child or the teen, I believe. Whatever is before the adults. So if there's a teen size or a child, it's whichever one is just below small adult. So it's just a little bit less stitches than the other ones. And with the worsted weight yarn, I think that will be a good compromise. So while this pattern is written, I believe, for a DK weight yarn, I have used obviously a lot of different yarns. This is sport weight, and this I would say is a DK worsted with the Puri fingering held double. And this one being worsted, I just think it's an easy pattern to like adjust. And the way that I do that, one, I would take knitting the like length of the hat in consideration for the size that you want. So if you were doing like a child and it's however many inches for the child, keep that, but your stitch cast on amount might vary depending on the weight of yarn you're using. So I kind of use that as my guide on deciding what I'm casting on, but I really do feel that it's a very easy pattern, and I just did this yesterday because I've cast this on 3 times. I yesterday ripped out the whole Manhattan hat and then cast on again and knit a little bit more than this with the small adult size, and then decided that was too many stitches and then ripped it out, and now we're going. So I will finish this one, and then I talked to my cousin to see if there was another color besides this crazy lime green, which is Plymouth Yarns Superwash Merino worsted, and it really is just super bright. And I called my cousin and asked if there was another color besides this wild one that she thought her son might like, and she said that she normally dresses him in blue and black, and I said, well, I got you. So I will probably get another skein of this in one of those colors. Just because it's superwash, it seems to, I mean, I've knit it now several times, and it doesn't seem to have peeled or anything like that. So I do think the yarn is like a good kind of yarn for this. I would say if you can't get the Plymouth Select Superwash Merino yarn, then I would get like Cascade 220 Merino. I think would be the same, Superwash Merino. So this one is in the color Lime Green Glow 99. And I did look, in the US you can get it on jemmybeanswool.com, yarn.com, and check your local yarn stores. For anyone outside of the US, I wasn't seeing it stocked anywhere else, so I would then switch to Cascade 220 or just again, Superwash Merino if you wanted it to be washable, which I think having a washable hat is always a good idea. So that's what I've been working on. So again, if you, oh, and we have a couple more. So then I thought I loved knitting cable hats, which I do actually love knitting cable hats. So this particular one is called Tied Knots. It's by Justyna Lorkowska, and it is a free pattern, and she has it just in one size. I think if you were deciding that you wanted to knit it and you wanted it smaller because it is a baggier hat, I would go down a needle size. Like I probably should have, it would have fit just slightly a little bit better. I still like the way this fits, and I still really love this hat a lot. I love the cables. It's just so pretty. I used La Bien Aimé's DK. It was just like a superwash DK, and the colorway Eric Northman. I just think it's so pretty. It's just the prettiest red. And just such a nice pattern. I really do like it a lot. So I highly recommend this. And the pattern is free. And then if you want a nice cabled hat for a kid, I would suggest the Mini Take Heart. I test knit a sweater for the mini pom book. And so this copy was gifted to me, but within this book is the hat, the mini Take Heart. And I'm trying to find a picture of it. Oh, here we go. Here you go. And it is by Fiona Alice. And I made one for my son using Spun Right Round Midnight Sky in 30K. And I made a pom-pom. And I've had trouble with pom-poms in the past kind of falling apart. And I found a tutorial online that suggested you use waxed cotton cord to tie them. And I did that, and this one is like a nice solid pom-pom. And I just used like the clover pom-pom tool to make it, but it worked really well. And this has a twisted rib for quite a while, brim, and then this beautiful cabled pattern that looks like hearts. So this is another one. I might actually make this style for my cousin's son's next hat because I just think it's a fun. Kids really sometimes like the pom-pom on the top. And I believe I probably used pretty much the entire skein because of the pom-pom on this one. Yeah, I really do like the way it turned out. And I really like this color. I actually wasn't sure about doing a kind of variegated, well, tonal, I guess it's more tonal than variegated, yarn with all of the cables, but I actually think it kind of lends to actually, because it is a dark color, making them stand out a little bit more. And yeah, so there's some hat pattern suggestions. Some of the hats that I really would like to knit this year would be the Snofrost hat by the Petite Knitter. It is a color work hat, and I haven't really knit any color work hats yet, and so that's been kind of on my list to knit, as well as the Stockholm hat by the PetiteKnit. I also have knit her September hat, which if I have a picture of the hat, I'll put it here. Otherwise, I'll just put a picture from the pattern. It's a brioche hat, and I think if you're new at learning one color brioche, it's a good one. If you're interested in another brioche hat pattern that's 2-color brioche, Andrea Mowry has a really nice hat called a Harlow hat, and it comes in, I believe, a sport and a worsted weight, different patterns. So there's some of my pattern suggestions. Again, really simple, really casual. If you want, you can go to the Ravelry group, introduce yourself, let me know what pattern you're looking forward to knitting or trying, yarns that you like, because all of that just helps the rest of us kind of make more choices. And or tag me, again, the Cat Hat Cal, cat with K-A-T-T, knit all the things, Hat Cal 23. Yeah, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Again, this is just meant to be very casual. I believe let's run this through until the end of the year, so that if you want to make gifts for people, those count, all of that. So, and then we'll do some maybe pattern giveaways and some yarn giveaways. So I'm excited to do this with you guys. If you are not yet subscribed, please subscribe to the channel just so that helps me out. Okay, so next, I went to Oregon Flock and Fiber Festival, OFFF, over the last 2 weeks, and I had intended on like recording my experience there, but I ended up not doing that because I ended up, I had a false start. So on Saturday I was gonna go, and then I felt super not so great, like panicky, and so I ended up just staying home. And then Sunday I felt great and was like, I'm going now. And then I didn't grab my camera. So it was a little bit of a like fail there, but it also allowed me to be more present. So I went to Oregon Flock and Fiber Festival, and I met some amazing people, some of you, and also some amazing vendors that were very new to me. I did not actually purchase a skein of yarn. I did not purchase any yarn at all. But what I did do, which I feel like I'm confessing to you guys, like something, I don't know. It feels funny because I've not been hiding this from you, but I've also not been sharing. After the Flock and Fiber Festival in Washington, I had been very interested in trying spinning. And I had come across a booth that had Turkish spindles, and I thought they were really beautiful. They were inlaid with various woods and just so pretty. And because I had never tried it before, I felt like it would not have been a responsible purchase because they were rather, I mean, I don't think they were, first of all, I don't think they were expensive for what they were. But for a brand new beginner, I don't think it would have been the right call as far as a tool for a new thing that I just had never tried. So when I went home and I looked up a bunch of different places, I found that Snyder spindles I felt were more reasonably priced. Not more reasonably priced. I feel like I'm saying the wrong thing. The other ones were very nice, very labor intensive, beautiful spindles, not appropriate for a beginner. I feel like the Snyder spindles were more appropriate for a beginner, and I messaged back and forth with them and chose a walnut. I think it's just like a regular, I feel bad I don't actually know the size, but I think it was just like a regular walnut Turkish spindle. And I also purchased fiber from Banshee Fiber Arts, which I'll link everybody below. But I've never done this before, and I really did not know what to expect. I definitely have watched a lot of YouTube videos, and I know it's definitely a fad right now. Or maybe not a fad, but I've just seen it more widely shown lately. And so it was something I definitely wanted to try. And the kind of cool thing about this is when I received it in the mail and got my fiber and started going, I had a memory that I had actually done this before. So I know that in elementary school, we had probably constructed our own spindle of some kind. I remember carding fleece and then trying to learn how to draft it. So I had this like kind of lost memory brought back up, which was kind of cool. I'm sure it was probably made with a pencil, and like, I just don't remember the whole thing. Maybe a pencil and like a round dowel or whatever. It was probably a top whirl spindle construction, but it was just something I remembered and thought was kind of cool. And so I have been working on this. I don't do it all the time. I do this when I take breaks from knitting, and I have been trying to do like 10 minutes a day, not even super long, but just to like practice because it's something new. It's really fun to me because it is something brand new that I have. It's rare that when you're an adult, you get to be a beginner at something. And so this is really fun for me that I get to be a beginner, and I'm really proud of it. Like, I think it looks like yarn. So like I've got that going for me. And this particular fiber has like a maroon to like a gray to a white color. And so I've been working on that. So in the back of my mind, when I went to Oregon Flock and Fiber Festival, I thought, okay, maybe I'll get like one thing of fiber. And the very first booth that I walked up to was the Mad Hatter Fiber Arts booth. Mad Hatter Fibers booth. And I spoke with Jenny, who's the owner, and she was really just kind with her time and generous with all of the tips that she gave. And I explained to her, like, I know nothing. This is what I have been doing. And she definitely gave me very helpful tips and definitely solidified some things I had questions on. So I walked around her booth and I found this beautiful bat, and this is how much I don't know. I was like, hi, I'd like to buy this. Now, what do I do? Like, how do I make this into yarn? And she generously told me all the things to try. So I ended up getting this pretty bat. It's got some natural colors and yellows and oranges and pinks. And I chose this I don't know if this is like my colors necessarily that I would plan on spinning like and knitting with so much, but I do find that learning to spin, I think a colorful something or another will make it more fun, just because you're like, oh, here's another color. This particular one is just branded as fine wool, so I'm not really sure the actual fiber content. This wool here is a BFL, and it's been very user-friendly, I would say. And I also have a Rambouillet braid. That's my like big stash, you guys. I wanted to share that with you. Right now, her Mad Hatter Fiber shop is on break, but I just followed her on Etsy so that I could get an update when she does come back, because I'm sure she will have some after the whole festival. So it was really nice meeting her, and really I'm very excited to try this. And yeah, I can't really wait to share my, like, I don't think I'm going to share a ton just because I'm definitely not an expert. I know nothing. It did take up some of my time this week, so I'm sharing it with you. The other thing that I got when I was there were these little teddy bears for my kids. They're made out of alpaca, and I don't know why, but they just, I felt like they had to come home with me. They're the softest thing you will ever touch. They're so soft. And I got a couple of these, one for each of my kids, and they're just ridiculous and furry and soft. My dog did try to steal one, so there's that. This is why I'm saying he probably ate my yarn. But no, to be serious, they're very cute, and I had to kind of take this while they were out of the house so I could share it with you, because they've had them with them since they've gotten them. The other thing that I got for me was just this cute little alpaca, little black alpaca, because I think a little bit harder to find the like darker colored ones. And so he can hang out with us, maybe, probably over here. Yeah, so that was really all I purchased there. I didn't go crazy. I was trying to maximize my time, just being able to talk with people and take it all in. I didn't even actually spend time with the animals, which was kind of a bummer. However, we did go to a pumpkin patch, so I felt like I got some animal, and at the pumpkin patch they had alpacas and pigs and camels and llamas and what else? Sheep. So I felt like I did the farm thing like recently, so I wasn't missing out on farm things. Also, I grew up rurally, in a rural area, and so while they are exciting and fun to me, they are not out of the ordinary in that way. So I don't know. But yeah, that was a fun thing to do. I also got to talk to spinners that had various electric wheels and regular spinning wheels, and learn more about that, because I really don't have much knowledge in that area. And so that was really interesting to me. And then everyone like in my family has been under the weather, and so I've been hanging out with kids knitting next to them and listening to podcasts lately. Some of the ones I recommend are one's called Blackout. These all are like a very like an engineered soundscape, so you do feel like I sometimes would look up while I was listening to it, expecting to like see something on the screen, because I had been like, you feel like you're definitely like inside of their world, which is kind of cool to me. And so I've been listening to Blackout and Ad Lucem, and the Left Right Game is the one I'm currently listening to. And they're just really interesting, because you definitely feel like you're next to these people hearing the stories. So that's kind of fun. Dramatized, they're like a dramatization. I mean, it's a story. Anyway, an audio drama, it's an audio drama. So that's been kind of what I've been doing. I've also, for the very first time ever, started watching the Gilmore Girls. I'm late to the game, I don't know. It's been really interesting watching it, because I have never seen it, and kind of noticing the like knitwear that they wore and things that are like coming back into style and different things. It's really interesting to me, and it's nice to just have on in the background. while I'm knitting. I am going to cast on my son's sweater. I talked about it a little bit last time. I was in between whether or not I would cast on the Mini Woodwardia or the Lion by Petite. So Mini Woodwardia is by Lydia Gluck in the Mini Palm magazine. I've made it 3 times. And I do really like the sweater. And I was going to do something a little bit different with it. But I do think that I'm going to end up knitting the Lion sweater by PetiteKnit because I think it has an interesting construction that I have not done yet and just something new. So I am planning on knitting that sweater in 3 colors, like a color block instead of stripes. And I'm going to cast that on, I think, as soon as I'm done with this button band. And then I'm kind of on the fence what else I'm going to end up casting on for myself. So that's kind of my knitting plans. Next week or next episode, we will be able to talk about the Autumn Bloom sweater. It will be released soon. I think the date got pushed back, so I'm waiting to share more about it. But that is coming up soon, and you guys will really want to knit that sweater. So that is all for me. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. If we're not yet knitting besties, please make sure to hit the subscribe button below and like this video. Let's YouTube know that other fiber enthusiasts like yourself enjoy this type of content. I do hope you join me in the Knit All the Things Hat Knit Along 2023, the Cat Hat Cow 23. And tag me because I really do want to see what you guys are going to make. Until 2 weeks from now, happy knitting. Bye!